Welcome to the first module in the Wealth Building 101 course, which is all about your financial fuel gauge, the balance sheet. If you think about a fuel gauge on your dashboard, it tells you really how far you can go, right? It tells you how wide your options are. If you have a lot of fuel in the tank, you can go where you like. Take a pleasant drive down the coast or just hit the highway and cruise for miles. But if you don't have very much fuel in the tank, your options are much more limited. And if it gets too low, you can be in downright trouble. Well, your money is like that. When you have financial fuel in your tank, you have options. You can put your kids in the school you want to. You can work when you want to, the way you want to. You can replace the refrigerator when it gets old without losing any sleep, and you can get the fridge you want. The balance sheet is like your financial fuel gauge. It tells you in one simple glance how much wealth you have built up. And the more wealth you have, the more options and freedom you have. They call it the balance sheet because it balances two financial measures: the value of what you own on the one hand, your assets, and the amount of what you owe on the other hand, your liabilities. The difference between your assets and your liabilities is your net worth, which just means if you paid off all your debts and walked away with what's left, that's what you'd have. That's why they sometimes call it a net worth statement, because it shows your net worth, accounting for all your assets and all your liabilities. The higher your net worth, the wealthier you are, and the greater your options in life. But the balance sheet can do more for you than just show your net worth. It can also be used to guide your financial decisions as you build your wealth. Because when you understand your own balance sheet, you can make intelligent decisions about how to grow your money and increase your net worth on a consistent basis. Let's start with the asset side of the balance sheet. The assets are the things you own, or the money you've accumulated in different forms. Now, there are a few broad types of assets like cash, investments, real estate, business, and personal property. Now, here we have an example of a person who has $500 in cash, $1,000 in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, $15,000 in a retirement plan. There are different kinds of retirement plans. In investment property, maybe a small house or condo they rent out that's worth $30,000 if they were to sell it today. They have their own home, which is worth $80,000 if they were to sell it today. And maybe a car or a boat that's worth $15,000. When you add the value of all those assets together, they are worth $141,500 in total. Now, let's look at the liabilities. Liabilities are basically loans. They can be personal loans, school loans, business loans, mortgages, car loans, credit card balances, any money you've borrowed. This person here has a mortgage on their investment property, that house they're renting out, and they owe $20,000 on that. They have a mortgage on their own home, and they owe $50,000 on that. They financed their car when they bought it, and they still owe $20,000 on that. They borrowed some money for school, maybe for themselves or their kid, and that's $3,000. They have consumer debt or credit card debt that stands at $5,000. And they have a personal loan. Maybe they borrowed some money to get through a tough time or to pay a medical bill, and that's $500. When you add up all these loans together, this person owes $98,500. So let's bring the two pieces together. On the left side of the balance sheet, we have the assets. On the right side, we have the liabilities. Now, you can see that some things show up on both sides. For example, on the asset side, they have an investment property worth $30,000. Now, they took out a mortgage to buy that property, And you see that on the liabilities side, that investment property mortgage of $20,000. Or look at their own home. They're under the assets. If they sold it today, they could get $80,000 for it. But again, they have a mortgage on their own home, and that's on the right side under the liabilities at $50,000. Now, in both of those cases, the value of the asset is greater than what they owe on it. But look at the car. It's only worth $15,000 as an asset, but we still owe $20,000 on that car loan. That's called being underwater, where you owe more money on something than it is worth. Not necessarily uncommon with cars. We know that they lose a lot of their value right away, but that's a situation to be careful of. And if you're in that unfortunate situation with your home, as some people are, you are probably painfully aware of what it means to be underwater. So let's look at the total value of the assets. At $141,500 and the total amount of the liabilities at $98,500. And let's just focus on those for a moment. The total value of your assets minus the total amount of your liabilities equals your net worth. So if we take $141,500 in assets and subtract the $98,500 in liabilities, we get a positive net worth of $43,000. So this basically means that if this person used their assets to pay off all their debts, this is what they would be left with. When that net worth number is positive and growing, you are building your wealth. If that number is negative or is shrinking, then your wealth is slipping away. You want to make that number positive, and you want to make it grow. The bigger that number is, the more freedom and financial security you will enjoy in your life. So, how do you make that number grow? Well, there are two ways to increase your wealth. The first is to acquire more assets and make that asset number bigger. That means saving up more cash, increasing your investments, whether that's putting more money into a retirement plan or investing in a mutual fund or buying other investments. Or it means investing in a successful business or real estate property that generates income. The other way to grow your net worth is to shrink your liabilities by paying down your debts. As you pay down your credit card debt, your car loan, your school loans, your mortgage, your total liabilities go down, and that increases your net worth. This is the simple secret of wealth building. Grow your assets and reduce your liabilities. That's it. If you do those two things, you will absolutely and positively build your wealth. It's guaranteed. It's math. Everything you read about in personal finances eventually comes down to that simple point. Now, when people get a bonus or have some extra money or just want to improve their financial situation, they'll ask, well, which should I do? Should I invest the money? Should I pay off debt? Which side of the balance sheet should I work? And here's what I can tell you. First, in a larger sense, it doesn't matter. Whether you buy assets or pay down liabilities, either one will improve your balance sheet, which is to say your net worth. But to make a slightly finer distinction, there is also a simple mathematical answer to that question. And it comes down to which one will give you more bang for your buck, no pun intended. Simply look at the rate of return you would get from the investment and compare that with the highest interest rate among your loans and put your money on whichever is biggest. That will give you the biggest bang and have the largest positive impact on your net worth. So for example, a lot of people have balances on a credit card at a 12, 15, or 17% interest rate. If you pay off a credit card with a 17% interest rate, that essentially means you're getting a 17% return on your money because that's 17% in finance charges that you won't have to pay. Now that's a terrific return. People would love to get 17% on their investments. And if you had a savings account that was only paying 1% interest, then that's a 1% return on your money. And that wouldn't be worth it if you could get a 17% return by paying down your credit card. So put your money on the highest return for your balance sheet, whether it's an investment or a liability. So now that you know how to read a balance sheet and you know how to calculate and increase your net worth, we come to the obvious question, which is why? Why increase your net worth? What's the value of it? Does anybody really care what your net worth is after you've passed on from this life? I mean, isn't there more to life and happiness than just how much money you have? Well, of course there is. But money is a funny thing. You know, we all know that happiness is about so much more than our net worth, but we all want more money. I mean, let's admit it. Who couldn't use a few extra bucks? Who couldn't use an extra $5,000 or $10,000 in the bank? You know, no one wants to be stranded on the side of the road when their car breaks down and have no money to fix it with. Nobody wants to see their kids miss out on opportunities because there just were not enough resources to work with. So money is certainly not the sole focus of our lives, but getting the money part of life right makes so much more possible. It gives you choices. It gives you freedom. Here's what happens when your net worth is positive and growing. You sleep easier at night, and you just feel better because all your needs are taken care of. You feel inspired just watching that net worth number grow, knowing that you are making good financial decisions and creating a solid financial foundation that will support you for your whole life and catapult you forward into the life you want to live and give to your family. You have more freedom because you're not living paycheck to paycheck, and your life is not limited to the few $100s in your bank account or when the next payday is. You can go out to eat, you can drive a reliable, comfortable car, you can afford to put your kids in great summer camps that enrich and excite and challenge them. When you have a positive net worth and it's continually growing, you can create the life you want to live, and you can give your family the life you want them to have. And you become a role model for them because they see that you are financially savvy and you make things happen, and you can teach them how to do the same with their money. And it doesn't stop there, because when your net worth is growing, you can give more to your community. You can help advance important causes that matter to you. Maybe the local football team needs new jerseys. You know, what would it be like to step forward and say, hey, yeah, I'll take care of that. I'll provide the team jerseys, no problem. Or maybe a family you know is struggling. You know, they have a child with a serious medical condition and you can help out. I mean, think of the difference you could make. So take a moment to think about what your why is. Knowing your why is really important because that's where the motivation comes from. You won't do it because you should, but you will do it for something that you really want or care about. What do you want to accomplish with your personal wealth? What would more money, more resources, more freedom mean for you and those you care about? Just one specific dream, one change you want in your life that really matters to you, that can drive a transformation in your wealth building. So, we've talked about how great a balance sheet is. It tells your whole financial story in one page. It tells you whether your wealth is growing or whether it's shrinking. There's one more thing the balance sheet can do for you, and that's to help you make financial decisions. You know, without a framework, without a systematic way to think about the money in your life, the assets, the liabilities, financial decisions can seem really complicated. But the balance sheet gives you a framework for managing your financial strategy and simplifies financial decisions that would otherwise seem confusing. Remember, we said that building wealth is really simple. You just accumulate and grow your assets while reducing or eliminating your liabilities. So as you make financial decisions, ask yourself, what impact will it have on your balance sheet and therefore your net worth? Will it add to your assets? Will it add to your liabilities? Will the asset be worth more than the liability? Good financial decisions will increase your net worth, while poor financial decisions will decrease your net worth. For example, now you'll understand what it means to own a car with a high resale value because you want that asset to preserve its value as long as possible, especially while you're paying off the loan for it if you financed it. You know that buying things with cash or other existing assets is better than using credit or loans, which come with an interest rate and an extra cost. You know that paying off high interest loans is going to grow your net worth faster than low yield investments. You can look at your balance sheet and know where to apply extra income or what loans to pay off first. You will be in control of your financial destiny because you will know what your financial situation is and you can strategize to build your wealth most effectively. According to the U.S. Census Bureau and financial experts, the average American will earn about $1.5 million in their lifetime. Now just think, in your lifetime, you will control $1.5 million. So what this means is you already are a millionaire. So you need to manage your money like one. With your balance sheet in place, you will be in control of that lifetime wealth, and you can start making deliberate decisions to grow it so that it becomes much more than just $500,000 or $1.5 million just over your lifetime. All right, we've talked about a lot. Now it's time to take action and put this into practice. I want you to create your own balance sheet. I've created a template that you can download, and you can either print it out and fill it in by hand or save it to your computer and add the numbers there. The template lets you fill in your information for this month and every month so you can see your net worth grow over the year. So take the template and write in all the assets you have, the cash, the investments, the retirement plan, the investment property, whatever it is. And then write down today's value of each. If it's cash in a savings account or in some other account, you just look at your account statement. If it's investment property or a business, you may have to do a little research. See what properties or businesses like yours are selling for. You can look online or in the newspaper. There are websites that will give you an estimated value of your home, or check Kelley Blue Book for the value of your car. Once you've filled in all your assets, then fill in all your liabilities. Now these are not daily expenses. We'll get to that in the next module. These are actual loans and consumer debt. So any mortgages you have, any car or vehicle loans, personal loans, school loans, any credit card debt, any retail accounts with balances on them, gather those all together and fill them in. When you've written all that into the balance sheet, then subtract the total liabilities from your total assets and find out what your net worth is right now. You might be surprised to see the value you've built up without even realizing it. And if you don't like the number, maybe it's not as high as you thought it would be, don't be discouraged. This is just the first step. Now you know what it is and what your financial picture really looks like. And now you can take meaningful, positive action that will yield real results. And I'm willing to bet that now that you've watched this video, you probably know more about money and how wealth building works than any of your friends, and probably even people who seem wealthy because of the car they drive or the house they own, but their balance sheet would tell you their finances are a wreck. And you would know it better than they would because they probably don't keep a balance sheet. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done that to themselves. And by the way, keep that balance sheet updated. Check on it once a month and update anything that's changed so you always know where you're at and can see that net worth growing over time. Notice how the financial decisions you make impact that net worth positively or negatively. In fact, once you know what your net worth is, set a goal for steadily increasing it. Make a specific commitment to that. You can do it by paying down your debt or by building up your cash, putting more into your retirement plan if you have one, investing in the stock market for the long term, or investing in a property or a successful business. Personally, I do an annual plan every year, and part of that plan is to review my balance sheet and set a net worth target for the coming year, along with a plan for how to achieve it. And I work that plan all year long. And I not only meet that target, but I often exceed it. Now, I've grown my personal net worth quite well with that simple practice. So set a net worth target for yourself for this year. You know what it is today. What would you like it to be? Make that target realistic but positive and inspiring, something that feels doable if you stretched just a little bit, but that really shows you the progress you're making and inspires you to keep growing it. So go download the balance sheet in the tools section right now and fill it in. When you're done, come to the next module because we're going to take a deeper dive into this balance sheet and make some finer distinctions that will be critical for you to get the most out of your wealth building decisions. Not all assets and liabilities are created equal. Would you believe that some assets are bad for your net worth and that some liabilities may be good for your net worth? We're going to break this down. It's an easy distinction to understand, but it will make all the difference in helping you to grow and accelerate your wealth. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.